Facebook, and YouTube. So for those of you in QUICKSTART Bootcamp that came on just a second ago, thanks for actually sticking with me for a while there before we just lost all connection. Things look really clear now, so fingers crossed that'll continue. But this is day one. Welcome to QUICKSTART Bootcamp day one. Hopefully you've already hit the ground running. Hopefully you're working your plan and you are working with your coaches to get the ball rolling here. We are going to start today with a pretty simple distinction. As I've been sharing with you, these are keys to the locks on the doors of your coaching business success, of getting your business started, of moving forward in this very short 30-day period. So this particular one is called Becoming Superhuman, Finding Your Voice, subtitle. So first, I'm going to cover what is becoming superhuman. So it's actually pretty simple. You know, your average human being out there, they have a certain level of expectation of themselves and their life and their performance in whatever area you might help them with. And so as long as you're beyond that, you're pretty much superhuman for them. Now, obviously, there's a certain level beyond that you probably have to achieve in order for them to really see you as superhuman. But superhuman is like just going beyond human. What people expect, what people think is what they should see their fellow human beings be able to produce. So when we really look up at somebody like a guru or a coach or a leader, and we really think they're superhuman, and I'm not talking about like fantasy superhuman, I'm talking about like in a real world way, right? Like, wow, they're like superhuman, that kind of commentary. Usually it's just because they've gone beyond what we expect somebody usually is able or willing to do consistently. That's it. You just got to perform. Here, let me see if actually in the coaching world, it is a part of their friends. I'm saying that they're not going to have an audience, right? They're not going to be so notable in what they bring to the table that there's a crowd gathering, so to speak. And so part of this becoming superhuman is to find your voice. Now, everybody takes a certain amount of time to find their voice, right? And so I'm going to answer this question that a lot of times is a common question. How long is this going to take? What does it take for me to find my voice as a coach, as a leader, as a guru, as a speaker, as a teacher in this industry? And I'll tell you, there are specific numbers that you can think about, but at the end of the day, it's somewhere between 20 and 50 times. 20 and 50 iterations of whatever it is that you're trying to bring to the table is what it takes to find your voice. And we see that again and again and again. One of my favorite examples, I shared this last time before we got cut off, is Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary was doing his wine library show kind of as a nobody for a while in this new network called YouTube. And it took him about 40 shows before people started saying, wow, yeah, now we really want to watch you. He found his voice, he started getting responses, and a crowd started to gather, right? I was just watching one of my mentors today talk about this, and he explained, you know, he had to do his podcast about 20 times before he really hit pay dirt, and he started gathering a crowd, and he found his voice, and it really felt like he had something, like he developed his personality, his persona that he brings to the table in this atmosphere of leading, in this atmosphere of coaching, this atmosphere of bringing people along and being a bit of the Pied Piper for your particular marketplace, whatever that is. So it takes 20 to 50 times or so. It might take a little bit more or a little less for you, but most people it's going to take about that. And the reason I say that is because this superhuman finding your voice kind of thing, it is a discovered skill. It's a learned skill. It's not usually innate in almost any of us. We talked about this yesterday in the live stream, talking about how we weren't just like born the way we need to show up as coaches, right? This is not like an automatic or natural thing for most of us to lead other people in a really charismatic, attractive, and powerful way. So it's not an innate skill. Now you have innate skills. You were born with innate abilities that develop over time, obviously, as well. You know, as you're young, as you age. And so, yes, some of those will probably be expressed in your coaching or your leadership, but for the most part, the skills that you're going to need in order to make this business work on the level of finding a voice and really speaking to people in a superhuman way, it's just not going to show up like today or tomorrow, chances are. So those are not innate skills. There are a few exceptions to that. I've worked with a few people who that was an innate thing for them. Hal Elrod, best-selling author of Miracle Morning, always was an amazing speaker. He was always charismatic. He was already a natural leader. I mean, that was just part of his. He was like born a broadcaster, okay? And then he wrote books and he started coaching and he did these other things. His coaching ability was a natural. I had to teach him that, right? But he had some innate things. He had kind of already had a bit of a voice, I'm sure, that developed even more. But there are going to be many skills in this superhuman world that you're trying to develop within yourself that you need to discover. You're going to discover them. You're going to stumble upon them. I'm not going to give them to you. You will not just learn them even in the boot camp, and they're not already there in your factory settings, right? You're going to need to develop them through a little trial and error on your part. 20 to 50 times. I'm telling you, you do 20 to 50 times, you'll find your voice. You continue for a year with however it is that you're coaching or broadcasting or sharing, and you're going to have plenty of clients. You're going to do really well. So that's the number of times. That's the distinction between an innate and discovered skill. Now, let's talk a little bit about the journey. Well, actually, no, you know what? Let's talk about how to do this first. Let's just get to the nuts and bolts. How do you then find this voice? There's a couple different places that you'll do this potentially. The first one, the obvious one in the world of your coaching business, is coaching. Right? So the first couple coaching sessions you may not have this developed coaching innate ability that just comes through you. You might have little pieces of that, but for the most part, probably not. So 20 to 50 coaching sessions, you will start to find that. You will be superhuman as a coach to some extent, in some way, shape, or form by that time. And you could do that during the boot camp, not just with learning the skills I'm going to be teaching you and the training sessions that we provide and practicing that stuff, but also just running live sessions in the public as well. So that's coaching sessions. But besides that, in your business, there's going to be some skills that you need to develop that are performance skills. Kind of like coaching is a performance art. These other elements are the performances that are required to bring in the clients as well sometimes. And now, again, you don't have to start with this stuff. You don't have to do any of this stuff during the boot camp except for run coaching session. I mean, you need to do that. Either to get your business started or just to start coaching. But these other elements are bonuses, but you may want to add these to what you're going to be up to over the next 30 days. So number one, speeches, seminars, workshops. Giving speeches, it's an acquired skill. It's something that you'll usually discover how to do over time. Go get trained on this. Go practice it. Go to Toastmasters for their first 10 speeches. Practice it, learn it. You will develop that over time. My first speaking engagement in like a high school, I think when I was even in grade school, I stuttered my way through it. And then later on in life, I went to Toastmasters and I really prepared and I really got serious and I really planned out who I was going to be for these guys who were watching me. And they said, "Wow, you would win in competition. You do really well because of what you brought to the table here." So something developed in me through those interim years as I was coaching, as I was working, venues through which you might develop this. Blog posts. You can coach through a blog post to some extent. So you provide coaching through that. You might find your voice in that area. There's some really important elements to that to attract viewers, to attract and discover over time, if that's you. Podcasts is the audio side of things, right? Just how are you using your voice? How are you intoning your shares and what you're talking about? What's your tempo? What's your content? That is an area where you're going to discover those skill sets and they're going to come together. Live streams and videos like this, not just the audio presentation of the content like you would in a blog post, but the visual of it. Like, where are you positioned? How do you look? And what are you putting in front of people to look at, to see? Those can vary depending on how you present those videos. And that's going to be an acquired skill. Not just being a presenter like you would in a speech, or a writer like you would in a blog, or a speaker like you would in a podcast or a speech, but the visual aspect, like being a director of the movie that you're in, that you're providing for your clients. That's a whole nother area. It's a whole nother skill to bring up. You can see how some of these might build on each other. Like if you're a good writer, you might end up giving a good seminar or a good speech because of what you wrote that you're now delivering in real time. If you're a good speaker, you might be good with podcasts. If you're, and maybe video, if you kind of have a charismatic presentation. If you visual presentations, you might be able to add that to your video aspect as well. But these things might build on each other also. But pick one and really decide that it's going to be a dynamic area where you're going to discover your skill. You're going to find your voice. You're going to become superhuman in that area, and then just grind it out. One after another, after another, after another. You do that for a year, you're not going to need to worry about clients. You're going to have plenty of clients. Interviews is another area. I've done a ton of interviews, but I'm definitely not a master of it. It's not my world or my area. Part of that, part of the area of mastery of that is being the interviewer, like bringing people in and discovering what's best. You can see some really great interviewers on the news and on YouTube nowadays, and in media, and even in writing, but also being great in an interview. If you get publicity training or public relations training, they're going to train you like how to sit, how to look, how to answer questions, how to present, how to kind of focus your content in a way that like an interviewer can listen to, and they can present in sound bites. Like that's a whole nother world to have skills for. It's tough, right? So these are discovered skills and abilities and areas of greatness that you need to develop. At least a couple of these. And by the way, as a coach, the one that you absolutely have to develop, of course, is your coaching. Right? You're gonna need to find a voice as a coach. Like you get me on a coaching session, I can do it in my sleep because I have that voice. I've developed it over a period of 20 years now, right? It's not exactly like new for me, but running a live stream and the tech involved, okay, that's kind of tough. A podcast, I don't do those, but I've done interviews on those. So there's areas where I could develop. And also, I don't need to develop all of these to have a great business, right? I'm very good with the visual. I'm very good with videos. You guys could see it on our YouTube channel, etc. And speeches, that's fine. Seminars, we give plenty of those. But not all of these, am I like amazing yet and superhuman. And if I really focused on these, I bet you I could become that. I bet you with the time logged in, I could become it. And you can too. Especially if you already have a coaching voice. So at least in this 30 days during Quick Start, develop your coaching voice. Do it by coaching. Do it by running free sessions. You're going to be in great shape. Now, this is a new distinction though. If you really want to fly and you don't just want to get a couple clients, but you really want to make this 30 days be the beginning of a real coaching empire, something that's going to be a long-lasting journey for you that'll take you all the way to the bank every day, pay your bills, and have it be a full-time profession, I'm going to give you a little piece of coaching. We talked a lot about these different media delivery vehicles just now, and developing your voice over a period of 40 podcasts or 25 live streams or whatever. Now, someone will usually say, well, I want to develop my voice before I start that stuff so I can really hit the ground running and be amazing the first time. It does not work. It does not work. And the reason is because you need to document the journey that you're going on to develop that voice. Why? Not because people need to hear you, that when you're you're really not doing a great job yet, where you're not sounding amazing. But because once you do sound amazing, once you've completed that journey, people need to know that you used to be human. That now that you're superhuman, and you found your voice in that area, that you used to be human, like you didn't always sound amazing. Look, one of the most compelling pieces of content that I've ever created, one of the most compelling stories I've ever told of mine, is the trailer story. It was when I started in the trailer. I documented, I took pictures of that. I remember that. I mean, I wish I was doing podcasts back then. I don't think there were podcasts at the time, right? It was like 2000 or 2001. But what I wouldn't give to have been able to document that. and be looking back at that today, and all of us could look back at that today from our live streams or our podcasts or our interviews or some other documentation other than like a few pictures and just my memory from that back then. So you people need to know that you used to be human. The more proof you got from the beginning of your journey, when you're kind of humble and you're average and you're not like superhuman yet, great. That's what you want. That's the whole point. If you ever read our New York Times article when they came out and they talk a lot about our students being very successful, but they pulled out one of our students that was not yet successful. His name was Sean Stewart, still is. He's not dead yet. But Sean actually got us the article, and Sean said, I can't believe this. They exposed me in this article. They said I didn't have clients. They said I wasn't successful. I'm embarrassed. I'm never going to live this down. I'm not going to make it. This is it. This is the end of my coaching business. And he literally called me and told me this. I said, Sean, what are you talking about? First of all, this is publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. I mean, Donald Trump has proven that now, right? Unless he goes to jail, we'll see. But any publicity is good publicity. When you don't have any, especially, I mean, like, you got to get on the map. I said, look, you can tell people you're published in the New York Times now. That, like, you don't have to have them read the article and get all the gory details. Just let them know that you've been in the New York Times. Congratulations. Nobody's interested in the details of the article most of the time. But besides that, what we're talking about here, needing to document the journey so people know that you're human, I said that you get to decide, Sean, whether this is the beginning of your journey or the end. This is a great first chapter in your story. They wrote about you in the New York Times like you were like unsuccessful. Like, that's the beginning of your journey, right? Journey to end. You get to write the rest of your story. Nobody gets to do that. You're in charge of that. The beginning, yeah, that's been written. You're done with that now. But let's get the end. So now he's got this amazing before picture that he should be using like every day. And now eventually, over a period of a couple of years, he got to point where he's doing some $10,000 months. And now he runs his Rock Your Gift seminar in San Diego every year. He's got a huge following. I mean, the guy is just crushing it. He's got $10,000, $20,000 months he runs sometimes. Very successful coach now, one of the best. And like that for him, right? So you need to document the journey so people know that you're human. The worst beginnings, are sometimes the best if you're willing to write the rest of your story. Now, look, your only other job as a coach for being superhuman for your clients, forget about like out there in public and building an audience and all that kind of stuff. We've kind of talked about that. The last piece of the puzzle, though, is making sure that you're amazing for your clients. How do you do that? So look, I mean, in the boot camp, we talk about all of that, and you're going to learn that in spades. So I don't want to belabor like stuff you're going to learn in our trainings. And I'll coach you on even more than that. But besides that, though, as far as what you bring to the table for your clients, all you need to do is be ahead of them. All you need to do is outlearn your clients. The first niche that I worked with in my business was real estate agents. And, I was never a real estate agent myself. I came from that family where I had a lot of realtors in my family, but I didn't know everything there was to know from the inside. So as soon as I started getting those clients, I read the books that those people needed to read so I could just stay one step ahead. And I realized, people that are full-time real estate agents, they haven't even read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by the guy who founded Keller Williams, that big red book. If you're an agent, you know what I'm talking about, probably. Most of them haven't even read that book. So I read that book. I went to a couple seminars, read a couple other books for realtors, and I was good. And then I just learned the rest through our partners and the other trainings that we were able to attend, and our clients and what they did to get clients, and other partnerships that we developed over time. But by about 6 months into me working with that niche, I was already ahead of that niche. All I needed to do was read a couple books on the subject, get a little bit of experience with those clients, and I was golden, right? You just need to be one step ahead. And then you're superhuman for your clients. That's it. Okay, and you might not yet be there. That's okay. But you might already be there in some respects, and that's great. Just double down and keep moving forward. You're a leader if you're a coach. Leaders go first. So your job is to take the action and take it on before your clients do. As long as you do it before them, then you can pass it along. You can pay it forward. You can give them the journey that you've already been on in some way, shape, or form. Hope that makes sense. And that's it as far as becoming superhuman. Doesn't really take that much. 30, 40, 50 times in your area, whether it's coaching sessions or speeches or blog posts or podcasts, live streams, interviews, whatever it is. I'll talk to you soon in our first coaching sessions. Good luck on day 1 of the Quick Start Bootcamp. Take care until then.